I'm baking chicken, communion with God. I want to talk about the New Testament. So, the top percentage are never compared to a minimum wage job. They work for 10 years as an entrepreneur who works 16 hours a day, Monday through Sunday, for 10 years before someone gets a stable job. God makes them the most successful supermodels, and then the commercial talent, on camera, hot girl, hot guy role, full-time artist teams with a full-time magazine. The same as the brand owners in the stores when they're not slave trade. 10 years into working, they're not compared to a different job when other jobs get the skill set to be paid their money, when it's exploiting the poor, when it's extortion, when it's an oppressive society. And so at that point, they can retire as the top percentage. They're never compared to a minimum wage job or any assistant for anyone who exploited them when they weren't paid tithing and donations. God doesn't believe in slavery. That's what pays these stable jobs, who are not a brand in a store or can't say that they're a department store, when the top percentage work for the actual department stores and never worked for a smaller company. So it's companies such as Nordstrom, Macy's, Neiman Marcus, Bloomingdale's, PacSun, Old Navy, David's Bridal, teens and 20s. But they never worked for small companies. When they worked for sponsored swimwear once a month, or the art schools or the schools, they did agency rate promotions with an agency rate sticking to an agency contract. And they didn't have an image before God. This is instead of a brothel for minimum wage. So they're never compared to an assistant when it was human trafficking since 2007 with a contract, because for 7 years the major companies broke the law and the models starved to death. But so did the producers, the photographers who get booked with them, 30 guys and 30 girls booked with them 30 times a year. So when they're replaced by a contract with the doctors to GHB for the viral slave trade brands of the club, they recruited slave trade brands 2007 because they were paid a bribe, because it would be tithing, because you don't believe in slavery. But the top percentage were replaced at the malls, and that's 2012, by slave trade brand employees. So would you work somewhere when your manager, boss, and the employees around you are being gang raped to have people gang raped? Or do you believe in a stay-at-home mom who doesn't have to work, who's not human trafficked in order to have some job? Because the Christians aren't a prostitute to be any kind of waitress. So it says in the Bible that they're not compared to a waitress or a minimum wage job. But God doesn't believe in slavery for society to do that to the entrepreneurs. And they're not anyone's assistant. So it's something that actually has them raped and killed and human trafficked when they're not paid a donation from the top percentage. But it's also anybody who has more money. So just know that they'll judge you one day. This is medicine. It's just a little sip of a margarita. And I'm making chicken and I'm stretching. 10 minutes a day and not over an hour of sitting and standing heals someone's hands so it doesn't force a surgery on their hands after 16 hours a day for 20 years, Monday through Sunday, being city-based. As the most successful campaign, commercial, theatrical, runway, blogging, celebrity in-store presentation, and business A-list media blogging. Separate from being raped and killed from anywhere to have a published small business. But it's the church of abortion, because they would have to be paid city to suburbia. The supermodels, talent producers, full-time artist teams who booked campaigns, commercials, theatrical, celebrity in-store presentations, and then blogging. You have to know it's paid through an agency where they stuck to an agency contract. 10 minutes a day creates flexibility. It's the difference between suffocating in your own body by 25 and being able to prevent any kind of injury. So they would have private practice doctors when they have the money in a bank account. But it's a meddling occult where all witches go to hell if they think that they can threaten people who don't have a job because they're not a slave. They would have the $2,500 a year that a cleaning lady has when they come from middle class, and no one's compared to something else. If they're a knocked up car mechanic, and the only way they would have the provision is if they have more money put into their business. So a 20-year business makes more money than a 10 or a 5-year one. And it could be the difference between $1 million that people live off of in a lifetime and less money. But they would never get more money if they're cut off or exploited and made a free slave. So people would have the $5,000 a year, the $10,000 a year, but it's through the top percentage. So just know that you will be judged, because people have low rent for $400 a month. So it's an occult where people were GHB and married someone in Turkey to be a murderer to have a minimum wage job at the brothel as a waiter from being any kind of top percentage artist. And it's an occult to be a Satanist in order to have any kind of minimum wage job, because you would actually starve to death if you don't have the support. But it's wrong. And God exacts life for life.